consent and how not to commit assault, not how to not be assaulted.
Right for the sicko picking, you know you're right for the rape.
On the Girls Radio Offensive, and we're lucky enough to have the organiser of the Melbourne, or one of the organisers of the Melbourne Slut Walk, Clem Bastow on the line. Clem, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Hey, listen, I've just been trying to sort of describe to the people what the Slut Walk's about, but as an organiser, I suppose you could, if you could tell people about it if they haven't heard it, tell them a little bit about it.
So what happened was, back in January in Toronto, a police officer came to give one of those kind of personal security talks that cops often do at unis to some students, and as part of that he said, I'm told I'm not supposed to say this, but women should avoid dressing like sluts if they don't want to be victimized. And so that then led to the formation, I guess, of the Slut Walk movement, which was initially just going to be the one march to the Toronto police station, basically in protest of that victim-blaming mentality, which I think is pretty widespread. And I think that the swiftness with which the Slut Walk movement has spread around the world really indicates how strongly people feel about that. I think one thing that keeps coming up is that as it's kind of dissipated throughout the wider media, obviously pictures of people dressed in fishnets and holding signs and things they're great and they look colourful on the front page. So I think a lot of the focus has kind of moved away from the true core values of the movement to the idea of reclaiming slut, which is, of course, also part of it, but that's not the reason that everybody marches. And I think that for us, particularly here in Melbourne, we really want to try and just shift people's focus back onto that idea of calling for an end to victim blaming, because it is still so prevalent.
Absolutely. And, that rape culture is so prevalent worldwide. I think that's one of the reasons so many women have been quick to jump on this. Yes,
absolutely. And, I mean, I think it's the same in a lot of countries, but particularly here in Australia, our rate of reportage of rape and sexual assault is so low, and I think a lot of that has to do with a mentality where people realise, or they think that if they go to court, they're going to be put through the ringer and they'll be asked things like, what were you wearing, were you drunk, how many boyfriends or girlfriends have you had? Fortunately, that is on the way out in the legal system, but I think more broadly in our society there is this real sense that people who are raped or sexually assaulted are somehow share the responsibility for that having happened, which of course is never the case. And that's for us the main focus of Slut Walk. And then beyond that, I mean, the great thing about it is a really inclusive event because there are so many other reasons people can march as well. I mean, there's also, an end to slut shaming, which is this idea that people who are engaged sexually in a certain way are somehow trashy or asking for it or inviting sexual assault. So that I think goes hand in hand with victim blaming. And then beyond that, I think it would be great if people come along and try and empty the word of those negative connotations. I mean, I think some people are sort of reticent because they think that it necessarily means they have to personally reclaim it or personally call themselves slut, and they don't at all. We know for a fact there are a lot of people who are coming who don't like the word and they don't want anyone to be called that, and I think that's also a really valid reason to come along and march. So it's a great all-inclusive event in that sense, and there have been similar there are lots of similar movements that are sometimes not as inclusive. There are some that are women only. So we're really trying to encourage everybody to come along to Slut Walk, no matter what your gender identity or religion or sexual preference, you name it. And so far, it feels really promising. I think that it's been accepted by a really wide range of communities.
It's great. There is that debate over the use of the word itself, but the larger issue of victim or survivor blaming, it's still so prevalent, especially women. I've noticed doing a bit of research on this. There's a lot of women against women in this issue, which is really sad to see.
Look, I think that's when you're a feminist, that is almost more disheartening. I mean, because I suppose you could say in some ways that there is an ingrained misogyny in some areas of society to do with men, but it's is particularly sad, particularly younger women too. I think that there's a generation coming up now who maybe don't feel that they have needed feminism or activism in a way that's particularly pertinent to their own lives, so they kind of see it as being irrelevant in general. And I think that goes hand in hand with this odd, slut-shaming, survivor-blaming, kind of weirdly anti-sex era that we seem to be in at the moment. It's kind of a time of really big contradictions, because on one hand we have this whole, if you want to use the term that they love so much, the sexualisation in the media, but then at the same time there is this weird prudishness as well. So it's a funny mix, and I think that is sending a lot of mixed messages to people, and it's confusing for a lot of young people as well.
Absolutely. And what does the movement mean to you personally? To light a fire under you and get it happening in Melbourne. You must have been driven by something.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, me and a bunch of the other co-organisers are sort of friends and colleagues of mine, and we'd been watching it spread around the world. And for me personally, I mean, I feel so strongly about that culture of victim blaming or survivor blaming. I mean, I've fortunately, I've experienced an emotionally abusive relationship, which thank God never became physically or sexually abusive. But even then, the sense afterwards when you come out the other side of that is a lot of people who, friends who kind of, the sense is, oh, you must have done something, you must have pissed him off, or you must have somehow contributed to that. And so that has always been something that I feel really strongly about. And and beyond that, I do believe in a sense in the kind of, if not reclaiming of the word per se, then just the sense that it's okay to be sexually engaged and to express that in whichever way you feel is right for you at the time. I mean, I've gone through periods of being, I suppose if you want to use the term, slutty, and then other periods of, being not very sexually engaged at all. And they all feel right to me, but I'm aware of which ones are perhaps looked less kindly on by society.
And that's the shame of the issue. That's what we try to address on the Girls Radio Offensive, is because we discuss things that heretofore have been deemed not nice. And the thing is, it's the silence that's the killer, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
Oh, I was just going to say, having grown up in the 80s and 90s, I sort of feel a really strong connection to that period of activism and riot girl, and I think that there's something about Slutwalk that reminds me a lot of that. And
yes.
It's sort of nice to get back to a sort of a bit more of a rat baggy sense of activism, because we have, in a lot of corners, had to keep it nice over the last decade or so, and there has been a sort of homogenisation of a lot of activism, and particularly feminism. And we're always constantly having to put up with these articles saying, "Is feminism dead?" And I think that while Slutwalk itself isn't expressly a feminist event, I don't think you can be against things like victim blaming and slut shaming and not in some way be a feminist. So it's exciting for me, and obviously there's been a great response from the feminist community, and just lots of different communities, and that's what's really exciting about it. And it sort of makes me think that maybe we're kind of coming out the other side of this weird conservative decade or so.
Great. I'm going to have to stop that there because it does go on for. But what I did was I took the digicorder down to the Slutwalk yesterday, so I'll be bringing you some sound bites straight from the event next week. But in the background of that interview there was a song by a band called Sycorax, who are no longer with us. My microphone's playing silly buggers, but that's all right. Who aren't a band anymore, but the song was called What's Left of Me, and the recording was made a long time ago, sort of, would be 95 now, but They're a fantastic all-girl band, and the music that they made was fantastic as well. And that song, What's Left of Me, is it's all about rape and these girls' experiences, and that, which is why I put it in the background of the interview for Slut Walk. And I think I'm just going to play that track for you now. So to take us out, because we are coming to the end of the Girls Radio Offensive. Yes, that's right. Things will get back to normal on your radio shortly. But to take us to the end of the program, I'm going to play Sycorax and their track, What's Left of Me. And big thanks to Olivia Ollie for coming in and having a chat to us. And also big thanks to Clem Bastow for chatting to us last week. And big thanks to all the girls and boys who came on the Slut March yesterday. It was very, very heartening to see so many different types of people represented there and showing their support for, freedom of choice. Who would have thunk it? Blame rapists for rape. What an idea.